this is, in fact, the individual you saw in Stillwater, Oklahoma on the 22nd day?
Did Brad indicate to you which features to choose for that?
Absolutely in no way at all.
And evidence in this state. Anything further?
With blue pattern.
Okay. And when you say you backed up to look at the tags of this pickup, did you notice? Are you absolutely sure, Mr. Tackett, that this is, in fact, the individual you saw in Stillwater, Oklahoma on the 22nd day of June?
Mrs. Huff, with all the honesty, the truthfulness that I am able to have within myself, as a credit with veracity, yes, ma'am. I'm only trying to be as honest as I know how.
Jury's aware of that, everybody, and we know what you're going through.
Mr. Burr, I believe the worst thing in the world would be to convict a man that's innocent of something like this.
Thank you, sir.
But I also believe that the next worst thing would be to turn someone loose that did it.
More probative as to whether this is the right man who is charged here today, then this Changer Stafford did not change anything. We didn't turn over diagrams or anything.
Well, you're bringing up a new feature in your objection that is not.
Oh, no kidding? You said you could not come into about anything.
Please. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God? Be seated, please.
You state your name for the court and jury.
In fact, I waive all rights right now, Mrs. Huff. You may ask me a question, put it right here. Put my wife over there. Put 2 lie detectors on him. He's the expert. Let him give us both lie detector tests, and let the jury see for himself firsthand who's telling the truth and who's telling the lie.
Bad manufacturing. All right, sir.
Could we approach the man?
Yes, ma'am.
It shows he was there a full 11 hours that day,
And how about the payroll records?
and so does the payroll.
And in your personal feelings, do you feel he was there?
I'm completely confident the man was there that day.
No further questions? If an individual would say that on the early morning hours of June 22nd, approximately around 12:30, that Roger Stafford was in Paul's Valley looking at a couple of motels to rob, would that be true or false?
Unless there's 2 Roger Dale Staffords, I'd have to say it would be false.
Held that position.
Approximately 4 months. Mr. Brewer, I do not believe by any form or manner that my office, the office of the District Attorney of the State of Oklahoma, conducted themselves in the manner of a Gestapo. And I resent that remark and that insinuation.
Of course, Roger, being the type of fella he was, he couldn't hardly miss him if he was there. He was quite a character, you know, and always popping by and talking about this and that. And
Will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God. Be seated, please.
I punched my time card.
And
Well, Lord, go right, you bloody fool you are, you know, and I'll be popping off like that, you know, and they'll say you're bloody governor you are, you know, and I'll be off like that. And they'll be saying, I can't understand you, man, and they slow down. I says, well, I'm sorry, boss, says, but if you can't speak English, you don't need to be in America. And
What's on marking the state that emergency shelter?
Camera, please.
We knew something was going on, but we didn't know what. We just watched them and let it go. That's about it.
You ever call the police?
No.
Why not?
I don't know. We just never did.
I figured it was a big setup, but I never saw anything come out of there. Everything went in, and they pretty suspicious looking bunch. But I can't imagine that amount of money. You know, $1,700,000, a ton of speakers and stereo and TVs. We never saw anything small go in there. Most of the big stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, shall I just put it?
Turn signal.
Overall, I think they were in pretty good shape mechanically, and where there wasn't any hazard to the people riding the buses or pedestrians or other motorists on the streets.
So was the complaint that you received not a valid one, perhaps?
No, I would say it was a valid complaint. We found one bus that had an expired sticker on it that had expired at the end of February, and no, there were some defects.
Okay. Grease slipping on the head.
I predict by September the 1st that we're going to have a severe housing shortage. We don't have a big backlog here in the Sun Belt area anyway.
near Pauls Valley, Verna said. The trio stopped by the side of I-35, where Verna pretended. But under cross-examination said that
right after he was shot, a lady came running from my side of the car, and I could hear her hollering, "Oh my God, you shot him." And she came around and she started to swing at me, and when she did, I came up to block her hit, and I caught her at the side of the face, and she lost balance, and Roger shot her.
Hello, this is Ed Stewart, Channel 4 News. I'm trying to get some information about the Windfall Profits Tax. Okay, I have to talk to the Public Information Director. All right, I'll wait a while.
Is it that they're taxing domestic oil to this extent, and we are not taxing imported oil 1 cent? Would someone just answer me that question? I think if we taxed import oil, we could do away with the United States income tax. That's exactly the way I feel about it, particularly if we put the tax on it they're trying to put on domestic oil.
Put this tax on, we do not refine oil. We sell oil. All right, you put this tax on it, the refiner is going to pass it right on down the line, and ultimately you're going to be paying $3 a gallon for gasoline, $3 a quart for oil. Now, how many miles are you going to drive a day at that? And driving is a very important part of a lot of people's jobs.
Roll it.
if the same type of incidents that I saw when I was chairman of the Special Committee on Aging, where somebody comes down and says they found their father with maggots and a wound in their arm, now I want to have that complaint be able to be presented whether that person is afraid of the establishment or not.
But you talk about inspectors, you're not going to find better inspectors in nursing homes than the loved ones of the people who reside there. So I hope if nothing else comes out of this legislation, that certainly will recognize that we can't just continue to take people to nursing homes, drop them off, and then just go visit them on Christmas.
There's certainly no need for panic in the country, no need for panic here in Oklahoma. This group of financial leaders that we've been meeting with this morning makes the point that Oklahoma's financial institutions are strong, that the legitimate credit needs of Oklahomans will be met, even though interest is high.
Gay and I have made the decision that we will not run for the United States Senate in 1980. We wish to express our appreciation for all of those who have encouraged us to do so. However, we've decided to stay at the University of Oklahoma, where our work is far from finished. This is a critical time for the university. Our job here is a big one, and there are people who are counting on us to carry on. I think that's the most important thing, the people who are depending on us. Usually, I suppose, the decision to run for political office is not an ethical one. For me, this one is. For me, the decision to leave the University of Oklahoma to run for public office at this time would be ethically indefensible.
Game, and then stay out there, and then we're going to go get Cokes.
What if we win?
Well, you're going to win. Well, you can. There's nobody around the goal either. Back down here, Greg. Greg.
Yeah, we're gonna be all of this.
Remember to line up.
Yeah.
this country must cut back on the amount of foreign oil that we import, and we've found out in the last year that there is a response to higher price, and people are using about 12% less gasoline now than they would normally have been using if the price hadn't gone up. So in concept, I support it very strongly, and I will support a tax increase on gasoline if it comes to us before the next election. That's going to be a tough one. In the area I come from, we use more energy than most parts, and particularly in that area, it'll be hard to sell. But at the same time, I think we all recognize that this country cannot afford to spend $90 or $100 billion for imported crude oil, and this is one way of cutting down our dependence on foreign supplies. That in real constant dollars, defense spending is now almost exactly level with what it was 10 years ago. During the same period of time, social spending has gone up by a factor of 3 or 4 times. So we've been restraining our defense spending, and I think it's unrealistic now to expect defense spending to be cut.
Well, I don't feel as though it is actually a representative election, as we have no choice.
It is totally absurd.
It makes me feel like that we're going back 200 or 300 years ago, that everything that our forefathers have fought for that we've lost. I really feel that this is a very undemocratic process today.
Well, the choices are a little narrow. I believe we do need representation, and ACT is definitely better than none. I think the choice is a little redundant, because if AFT was in fact illegal, it should have been barred from the ballot, and ACT should have won merely by being the only one left. So this election itself is, as I said, redundant.
My ball, Rick. Hey, that was mine. Man, I ain't got I shot there. My name is Lloyd. Say my mom.
You just better move.
We tried to keep it a teacher rights issue, not an organizational one. At this point in time, it is not an organizational one. It says teachers have the right to bargain, and we believe in that, and we're committed to it. And when you cloud the issues, there are many people who, because of the confusion, say, best thing for me to do is not make a decision. And I think that's indeed what happened.
I mean, when we had an election in October, the legal election, the one with all the candidates on the ballot like we do in this country, we won that election, and a high turnout of people voted. In this election, it was all prearranged. It's not provided for in the law, and it sets up a situation where now a group that has support of only 27% of the teachers will be, in effect, going to the bargaining table.
Sir, wasn't there another thing referring to, it was on the board, PTIO, the other day?
Enclose anything you'd like to enclose in there. Also, the commanding officer at late night, punishment was forfeiture of pay, grounds of appeal, the punishment is unjust. He is the commanding officer, so he gets to write in an endorsement on what you write. Okay, on unjust ground, have a legally trained JAG officer designated an officer in command. You cannot impose non-judicial punishment on another officer. Okay, if you're commanding officer, lieutenant commander, or below, you can see that the officer may be
Sir, wasn't there another thing referring to, it was on the board, PTIO, the other day?
Enclose anything you'd like to enclose in there. Also, the commanding officer at late night, punishment was forfeiture of pay, grounds of appeal, the punishment is unjust. He is the commanding officer, so he gets to write in an endorsement on what you write. Okay, on unjust ground, have a legally trained JAG officer designated an officer in command. You cannot impose non-judicial punishment on another officer. Okay, if you're commanding officer, lieutenant commander, or below, you can see that the officer may be restricted for 15 days, have a reprimand or a restriction.
Don't smile, don't smile.
An excellent job. He had the article written out, not the article, but in, paraphrased, and then what criteria had to be filled to be found guilty.
Each award consists of a plaque on which a badge opportunity to give honor to the organization that they're rejecting a young girl who was a passenger. The upper part of her body was pinned face down underneath the vehicle. Trooper Rowland's quick actions
participated in this, and we look forward to
040, 107, 131.
Kids are all in good shape. Let's not get excited.
They're all here?
The kids are all accounted for. Just take it easy.
Our unit when we're ready to go back, Jeff. How old are you?
Cut down there and she was just bleeding. She didn't hurt.
I'm concerned over who was driving. Because one time we heard a girl was driving, Nikki, and then the other time a boy, Brent. And I'm concerned over who was driving and how young they were, and if they had licenses.
I'd rather have it come out.
She was driving at the time. She had no business driving and should not have been at the wheel, but
Marjorie Skiles was in the bar during the bloodbath this morning. She's been the manager of George's Club on Southwest Boulevard for several years. About 1 this morning, she says that 2 men walked up to the front door of the club. The owner refused to let them in, and one of the men started shooting.
Well, then I seen this gun coming in through the door, and as quick as it got in through the door, well, it started blasting. Bang, 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 bang.
Two of Mrs. Skiles' customers were killed, 38-year-old Johnny Brad of Tulsa and 49-year-old Donald Sisk of Sand Springs. 5 people, including the owner of the club, were wounded, 3 of them critically.
Well, we have several leads, which some of which have already proved fruitful, and we're just following up at this time on the information that we have.
I don't know what possessed the men to do it, because everybody in here was innocent. Innocent people got killed, and innocent people got hurt. And I hope they catch the guys.
As I've announced before, I don't want to be a part of the execution of anyone. And as a warden here, you have to take a direct part in that. That would bother me, and I just object to it, and I stepping aside. With the prison as good shape as it's in, I think now is the best time to step down and let some other warden take over.
I think I got a unique background because I've got as a professional, my philosophy probably would have to be that the courts have upheld capital rights. That the state has the right to capital punishment. I would hope that the states look at it judiciously and exercise that right cautiously. But if that were the case and all the appeal process went through and the court order came down that an execution had to take place, then I would be part of executing that order.
The reason you wanted to step down was you didn't want to be around.
That's important. But yeah, I think a reality is that there is something to read.
Ladies and gentlemen, the next President of the United States, Ronald Reagan.
You know, the other night, a few nights ago in Illinois, just before the election, the debate there, I looked up and down the line of the Republican candidates that were sitting there in that debate, and then I thought what it would look like if the other party was having their leadership there for a debate. There would have been Jerry Brown, who's on both sides of every issue. There would have been Teddy Kennedy, who's on the wrong side of every issue. And there would have been Jimmy Carter, who doesn't know what the issues are. Stabilize our dollar.
it's not around and we don't worry about it as much. But the fact that we have been able to confirm 34 or 35 cases of measles in the community indicates there's some significant weak spots in the vaccine program. We've seen them in extremes of age from about 12 months up to high school age.
Is there
Last call out of those desiring to vote or change.
I'm putting my neck on the line on this.
The members of the legislature, I think he will be. Has been our position for 5 years, and if we're going to have additional tax reductions, then we will be glad to consider them. But we're not going to have one item pulled out of the package and say this is being changed and leave the rest alone.
The other group, which I mentioned, are thinking and looking at the situation more closely. I think that these things and these practices, they are doing over there is not really humanitarian. For example, hostage situation and executions and other things really, which is completely against the Islamic religion, but we cannot do anything about it.
What I understood when Khomeini came to power was that the government would be more open and that you would be allowed to voice your grievances more. Is that not happening?
This is what he promised to people, but later on a lot of disagreement came along, and he thought that he has given too much freedom to the people. Therefore, he thought some restriction could be put on this freedom. So he did. And
do the Iranian people feel betrayed by these restrictions?
Yes, some are not very happy about it because they think that this is not the thing that he has promised to the people. and but they cannot really disagree much.
We just got the opinion this morning, the ruling, and so there's a lot to look at. For example, if it's just to run a train up and down the track, so you can take your kids down to the station and say, hey, look, Junior, there's a train, that has some benefit, and I'm kind of a railroad buff and to that extent, and I hate to see railroads go out, but I'd want to know whether it actually